What I'm going to be telling you in this video may change your life for forever, or perhaps merely just the way you see things for forever. And like this island, I was born from the fire as well, and made something beautiful of it. So come along with me on this journey of discovery of Taulai and where it leads to. Now some of you may be wondering at this point, what happened to the Matrix? Well, the first video was about awareness, and the second was about waking up. And the third was an invitation to this one, which is a totally different world. It's the real world. You remember that segment where it said, "Welcome to the real world"? That's what this is. And I'm going to explain to you in ways you've not known before or seen before, just what's really out here in this real world. And it's a beautiful world. And I'm not just blowing smoke here. I'm going to show you in no uncertain terms. Because that matrix was of the fire, deception. And these videos have been about the tyranny of that deception and the enslavement. And this matrix is the positive matrix. You know, that term matrix is 2 syllables, matrix. There are bad tricks like being punked. And there are good tricks like I mentioned before, like a surprise birthday party. You have taken your first breath when you pulled that tube out of your mouth and took your first breath of freedom out of the matrix, went down that tube as though you were flushed and were picked up. I'm serious about these things. I'm not kidding. I see 2 different worlds. I live in one. I always have. And I've seen that other one. And I'm trying to explain to you these things so that you can see the difference. What I'm doing here is trying to awaken that sleeping giant within you as it relates to that phrase on that segment of the video that said, "You were born to be more alive and capable than you've known." In fact, what you're looking at here is called the Sleeping Giant Mountain Range. And in the language of the ancients who first discovered Taulai, the island of Taulai, that's called the Nau Mountains. And it has a place on the island that means something, as everything on that island does. And if we go to that island, I'll show you place by place, name by name. Perhaps you can see even now, to the left is the head of the sleeping giant as it lies prone on its back. The head, the chest, the torso, the legs lying on its back. The Sleeping Giant Mountain Range, the Nau Mountain Range on the island of Taulai. Now what you're seeing here and what you'll be seeing in this video and others are hidden secrets not known before consciously by the ancients who named the places and settled the island initially, and by modern man who also came there later. And they did what they did because they were guided unknowingly. But the island and I kind of got together, and it's time to reveal these secrets and these truths. So that's a part of this first video and ones to come. What you see here in front of you is the island of Taulai, and if you look closely at it, you may notice something about it, which I did. I had some experiences there which opened my eyes. And look at that shape of that island. If you look at what it truly is, you see a profile. You see a nose to the right, a mouth below that, a chin. Above the nose you see the eyes, You see the forehead above the nose, and the hairline and the back, and so on. Alright, it's a profile of a head, a human head. And that island was not formed as it is for no reason, quite the contrary. So let's go to where I was just showing you the Now Now mountain range, the Sleeping Giant. Let's zoom in on this map and start a journey that you will never forget. And here you can easily see the Sleeping Giant and the Now Now mountain on the map. And there's a particular reason why it's where it is and why it's called what it is, both in the ancient language and as it's referred to in English. And I'm going to be explaining that and much more in this series of videos to follow. So I'm going to zoom out and show you precisely where that is on the head once more. And here we go. So pay attention here. Just above the eye, say at the center of the forehead, some say we have a third eye, and that third eye might be considered the Sleeping Giant. Now, I'm not into Hindu or Eastern religions at all, but the island speaks all around and tells us and talks to us of things that are marvelous and wondrous. Now, recall from the first Matrix video where we had that white and gray hollow image of Einstein's face. And this is the raw image, not the image that's misinterpreted or just automatically seen by others stuck in the Matrix. That's why I can see this, and that's why I'm showing it to you. Because you're just out of it. You're out of the Matrix, and you need to know this. You need some nurturing, and you need to be guided through this. Now, the first ancients who landed on Taula'i crossed vast expanses of the Pacific. But now in modern days we can do it by jet. And here's an example of arriving on Taula'i by jet. Now let me guide you through the symbology yet again on this island. Because where we're headed to on the profile is where man placed the major airport for the island. Unknowingly, but he placed the airport on the nose. And what is a nose? It's an air passage or airport. And that is where the airport is, on the nose of the island. And once again, the island is speaking. And unknowingly, ancient and modern man listened. And here you can clearly see the nose on the profile with the airport or the air passage. And we'll zoom in a little closer because the island is speaking to its children like a parent in simplistic terms so they can listen and understand even if they don't consciously know what they're doing yet. Now soon these things will become clear to you, much clearer. As clear as the nose on your face. In fact, as clear as the nose on Taula'i's face. And as you can plainly see by the airplane that's landed on Taula'i's face. So we're going to have fun with this journey, and the island just loves it.
And the captain has turned off the fasten seatbelt sign. At that time, it'll be safe to get up and move about and collect your belongings.
Now, you've been stuck in that matrix for a very long time. And I want to tell you something here. The ancients had no maps. They had no compasses. They had no aerial views. But they were led. They were led unknowingly, as was modern man, to this place. And the island and I got together and decided it's time to reveal these truths to you. So let's continue on this journey of discovery of the island of Taula'i, the prophet, the seer. And I'm going to add one thing here. It's been a lonely place outside of the Matrix without all of you. Very lonely. I'll be glad to have some company. It's been a very long time. So let's go on with this journey of discovery of where Taula'i leads us. Now, the deception that's been pulled over your eyes has disallowed you from seeing this, and that's angered me, and it's angered the island. It's gone on far too long. It's been a deception that's pulled over your eyes to disallow you from seeing the beauty of what's around you and what's within you, and that's all changed now. You've taken your first breath. You're an infant, and you're dependent, and you need nurturing, and you need guidance. That's what this video and these subsequent videos are all about. So let's move on, and we'll teach you your first words. And the first word you're going to learn is the word water. In English, water. In the language of the ancients, it's pronounced wai. Wai meaning water. And another word we'll teach you here is lua, meaning hole. Water hole. Now, a water hole can be many things, such as anything, but in a particular place, it means something. Alright, let's take a look at water hole as it relates to the eye, and let's move up the head. Let's move up the head to the corner of the eye where there's a water hole. And a water hole there, in other terms, and these places are not here for no reason. They were formed long ago and named long ago. But a water hole there at that place can also be called a tear duct. A tear duct is a water hole, and there's a waterfall there as well. Wailua Falls, water hole falls. Wailua, water hole, right there at the corner of the eye, on the island of Taula'i, the prophet, the seer, who sees and who reveals. So you're fresh out of the Matrix, and you've been born, and it's your birthday, and you've cried, so we've been up there. The next thing a newborn wants is it's hungry. So let's take this little trek down to the mouth of the island. Now, these places, in geological terms, could have happened and occurred any time in history, come and gone, but they're here now. As I said, everywhere on this island has meaning and purpose and speaks. So the mouth area, now there's a word that's used to describe that mouth down there. And loosely translated, it means the mixing, grindy, windy place. You see, in the ancient language, As in every language, each word can have one or more syllables. But in the ancient language, each syllable can have many potential different meanings. But when you know you're looking at a mouth, and the words are right there in front of you, there you have the solution or the answer. So we have the solution. Now drink. Drink this in. Okay. The mixing grindy windy place is a loose translation and very accurate, because you're going to take a bite of food, you're going to mix saliva with it, you're going to grind it up with your teeth and swallow it or spit it out. And windy, of course, for speech and breathing. And the name is right there. Nay Willy Willy. So as I said, each syllable can have many different meanings. And in the language of the ancients, there are many, many potential meanings for each syllable. But when you're looking at the mouth and it says mixing and grinding and windy, I think you're looking at a mouth. Okay, let's move on this trek through Taula'i. Now at this point and at this time, some of you, maybe many of you, may be saying, that man must have a hole in his head. He has a hole in his head. Well, I do have a hole in my head, in fact, as the island does. And the deepest hole of all is the one that formed the island. The crater of the volcano which formed the island is that hole in the head. Or others may want to look up at the top of the head, where there is a hole or a dip in the head, which is Hanalei Bay. But the volcanic crater which formed the island is the major hole in the head. It's the deepest. And that island, just to break sea level, had to form 18,000 feet of lava just to get to the sea level surface. And that island now goes up 1 mile in altitude from the surface of the ocean. So 18,000 feet plus 1 mile. That's quite a hole in the head. Now, is that term hole in the head, does that word hole start with an H or a W followed by the word hole? Do I have a hole in my head, or do I have a hole in my head? Well, that's up to you to decide. You're on the positive side of the matrix. Hole in the head or hole in the head. Now, those fires which form the island, these are not head matters. Those fires which formed the island came from the heart of the earth. The heart of the earth. The fire in the heart of the earth. That heat, that glowing. So, these aren't all about head matters in the least. These are about the heart of the earth, the heart of man, and more. Here on Taula'i, the prophet, the seer. Not all head matters. Heart matters. Heart matters. Fire in the heart. I was born from the fire as well, and made something beautiful of it. So come along with me on this journey of discovery of Taula'i and where it leads to. This island, this unique and one-of-a-kind and beautiful island, it breathes because it has a life force in it. And you can hear it breathing. So let's listen to it breathe. course, it's just air through a tube, like breathing. There's a lava tube on the south side of the island, and as the waves come and go beneath the lava tube, you can hear the breathing of the island. And when the waves hit it just right, you can see the ocean spray come up. Now this amazing island can speak softly into your heart in a number of ways from the symbology, but it's more than symbology. Just look down there at that area where the island speaks from, where it breathes, and they're just waves causing the breathing through a tube. Now, if there were a neck on that island, where would the voice box be? Now, I've noticed that the island can speak through a male or a female voice, and in many other ways it speaks through pictures and experiences there. If you've ever had the occasion to where something touched your heart deeply, as I did there when I first had my first encounter with the island speaking to me and revealing itself to me, it was a deep experience. So the island can speak to people in many different ways, and when you hear it, you'll know it. And when the time came, the island called, and each group in turn heard the call and came. You've heard the call and you're here. And where is here? Well, before you is a place called Kilauea, and it's the northernmost point on the island, the very top of Taulai's Head. And before you is what's called the Kilauea Lighthouse. Now let's have a little fun on this journey as the island plays with us and entertains us as well along the way. We've all seen in the cartoons when someone has a good or a great idea, they draw a light bulb lit up on the top of their head. Well, take a look at the size of a light bulb on Taulai's Head. So the island is having fun with this. And you can easily see on the map of the area, the Kilauea area where the lighthouse is and other parts of the island up there. And I must tell you at this time, if you've seen the island and its beauty, just what's apparent, beneath the surface the beauty is so much deeper and more vast. Let's journey now just a little to the west of the lighthouse and drop down to sea level, beach level, to a beautiful place called Anini Beach. And this is the place where I first noticed the island speaking to me in many ways. And here's some views of it now. In the far distance is the lighthouse. Now let me interject something here. This island is no craggy, rocky island out in the middle of nowhere. It's no sandy desert island. It's no snowy, icy polar region island. It's a tropical island. In fact, this island is the first major island in an island group, or what some call an island chain. And there's much more to this story than just the island of Taulai, as you will learn later in these series of videos. And there again you see the lighthouse. Now look above the head of the island, out toward the distant horizon, and spreading back some. Now, in the ancient belief system, which some would say is a philosophy, and some would call a religion, that would be where the Aumakua resides. And that's a revered place. Now, when I brought you here to the head, I brought you from the heart area, the heart region, here up to the top of the head. And I think it does require some of that Aumakua to properly interpret or translate sometimes what you hear so deeply in your heart from the island. Journeying west now on the top of Taulai, we come to a place called Lumahai, or Nurses Beach. Now you've been diapered and powdered and pampered and nursed and fed and burped, and you're cooing and smiling and gurgling. And you've come to discover the beauty of this new place you've been born into. And you've come to recognize faces and sights, smells, tastes, sound of voices, the feeling of heart and the lightness of this place. And we're here now, and you're growing up quickly here to recognize things that you've not seen before. And I'll give you an example here. Now, this island is the only major island without a road that goes all the way around it. And one would say it's because of the cliffs to the west side of the island. But this island always has more than one reason for everything it does. And this island is full of meaning and purpose. So let's go to a place that could sound ominous to some. And let's explain that place, because this is another example of the way the island speaks. Now, the place you're looking at there is called Haena, and that's at the end of the road on the North Shore, the proverbial end of the road. Now, none of us want to reach the end of the road with a problem in life with no solution or answer, but some of us seem to approach that at times. And some of us may have that going on in their lives now, and others it may be coming up soon. So this may be a good one to listen to. Now, just before you get to that end of the road, there's a place called Hanalei Colony Resort, or one might say, the last resort. Now, this is another way that the island speaks, because many people, when they see that end of the road coming up, they're going to grab or they're going to turn off at that last resort. So the island has a beautiful lesson here and a new way of looking at things for you. Now, even if one does stop at that last resort, it's a beautiful place. And the end of the road there at Haena is merely the end of the pavement, because at that end of the pavement, footsteps away, is an ancient trailhead to an ancient trail forged by the ancients, called the Nepali Coast Trail. So you may want to take an 11-mile hike into the back of your head looking for answers, and it's a beautiful view all the way. Perhaps that sleeping giant within you has begun to awaken after what's been presented here about this island of Taulai, the prophet, the seer. We've barely scratched the face of this island, and it's had an itch for a very long time. In a lot of places. So let's continue on now with our journey of discovery of Taulai, the prophet, the seer. We've come a long way since the start of this video in recognizing this island and what it shows and what it reveals. And I'm sure that some of you, perhaps many of you, have noticed from the place names on the map or the views and the visuals, or from the place names I've spoken, that this island is also known as the Hawaiian island of Kauai. However, the original name of this island was Taulai, and it does mean the prophet or the seer. And this island is the oldest major island of the island group or island chain. And that island group is the most remote group of islands from a major landmass on the planet's surface. It's right there about in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And that ocean, for those of you who don't know, is a Latin word, pacifica, or Pacific, which translated means peace. And that's a statement there we'll get into at a later time. But each of those islands formed in succession as they each passed over the same hot spot underneath the surface of the earth. And each one formed in succession, in a particular shape and form, and each place there was named for a particular reason. When Taula'i was first formed, it was not hospitable at all. It was hot lava out in the middle of the Pacific, smoking from steam, and slowly the reefs formed around it. The lava began to deteriorate. Plants found root. Later came bugs and birds, and eventually man. So initially, Taula'i was an arid desert, and it prepared itself in time for what was to come. For the island had a destiny from before the beginning of time. So let's move on now to the brainstem of Taula'i. And it's not horizontal, it's right there where it should be. And we'll follow it on down from the area at the top of the road, through Waimea Canyon, Waimea River, on down to Waimea Bay. The brainstem of Taula'i. The prophet, the seer, the one who reveals. It has a place on the island that means something, as everything on that island does. And if we go to that island, I'll show you place by place, name by name. And these places are not here for no reason. They were formed long ago and named long ago. And I want to tell you something here. The ancients had no maps. They had no compasses. They had no aerial views. But they were led. They were led unknowingly, as was modern man, to this place. We've not touched much on place names yet, but every place on this island is there for a reason and has meaning and purpose. So let's look at some more place names on the island, and we'll get deeper into Taulai, the prophet, the seer, the one who reveals.